Here we're back again. We're going to continue to push on, and we're going to try and see if we can't wrap this up by the end of the year. So pressing on on page 199 to now discuss the 6 important points of the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra, which is, again, the sutra that precedes the Lotus Sutra in the threefold Lotus Sutra. So it's the Immeasurable Meanings, Lotus Sutra, and then the Universal Worthy Sutra. And we'll be getting to both Immeasurable Meanings and Universal Worthy next. So 6 important points on page 199. Point 1, concerning the Virtuous Practices chapter of the Immeasurable Meanings Sutra. I believe there are 3 chapters in the Immeasurable Meanings Sutra. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says, regarding the 3 characters of Muryogi, which is what it is in Japanese, or immeasurable meanings, in the title of the sutra, if we consider them in terms of the 3 categories of the theoretical teaching, essential teaching, and observation of the mind, then the first character, Mu, represents the theoretical teaching. Now, why did he just break that down into the 3 categories of the theoretical teaching, essential teaching, and observation of the mind? Because again, the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra is something that comes before the Lotus Sutra, right? So it's actually a carryover and introduction from the theories of Tentai into the actual Lotus Sutra, in which the Daishonin has now done an explication for the latter day of the law. Okay, so here he's talking about the first 14 chapters when he says theoretical teaching of the Lotus Sutra. Essential teaching is the second 14 chapters, and when he talks about and observation of the mind is the threefold contemplation of a single mind. This is Tentai's Makashikan. This is the way that you achieve Buddhahood in your present form, theoretically, in the time of the middle day of the law when Tentai was teaching this. So that's what he's talking about, because all of this is derived from not just the Lotus Sutra, but the sutras that preceded the Lotus Sutra and the teachings that preceded the Lotus Sutra. But then on top of that, the Lotus Sutra has been broken down by Tentai and formulated and categorized in such a way that you've got the, we'll go through them in just a minute. The 4 different types of teachings. The perfect teaching is the Nirvana and Lotus and Nirvana, as I said, was talking about yesterday. So regarding the 3 characters of Muryogi, or immeasurable meanings, in the title of the sutra, if we consider them in terms of the 3 categories of the theoretical teaching, first 14 chapters, essential teaching, second 14 chapters, and observation of the mind, Makashikan, then the first character, Mu, represents the 3 theoretical teaching. This is because it puts the theoretical perfection, that is perfection in the theoretical truth, in the foreground, and discusses that aspect of the meaning of the eternal and unchanging truth. So again, the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra introduces us to the thought process that led to the Daishonin seeing in the depths of the 16th chapter, the lifespan chapter, the essential nature of the beginning or origin. And that's what's going to be created differentiations here. He's going to qualify that. So he's saying, this, in other words, what he's saying is that the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra starts to introduce us to the concept of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay, that's exactly what he's trying to convey. The theoretical teaching, the first 14 chapters of the Lotus Sutra, pertains to what is impermanent. It does not discuss what is eternal and immutable. In true, it states clearly that these phenomena are part of an abiding law, and that the characteristics of the world are constantly abiding. In other words, never changing. The fundamental nature of all things is always Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, even as they go through the cycle of birth, old age, sickness, and death, going into non-substantiality and coming back into temporary existence to repeat that cycle again. He says, true, it clearly states that these phenomena are part of an abiding law, that the characteristics of the world are constantly abiding, from the Expedient Means chapter of the Lotus Sutra, which would be in the theoretical first 14 chapters, obviously. But But this is to present the theoretical aspect of the eternal and immutable, not the actual aspect. Okay, so he's now talking about how we're going to differentiate these three understandings, or these three preparations for the revelation in the latter day of the law of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So he's qualifying again, but this is to present the theoretical aspect of the eternal and immutable, not the actual aspect, because you couldn't attain Buddhahood through the theoretical teaching of the first 14 chapters, based on the teaching of observation of the mind, which is the Makashikan Tentai construct of perceiving and understanding the truth of the middle way. All right, because that was the whole basis of the Makashikan, was to understand and realize non-substantiality and temporary existence and the truth of the middle way, that there was this combination of eternity that's involved. And we're no longer talking about nirvana or blown out. We're talking about something that's gone on forever and forever, right? Numberless major world system dust particle kalpas at this point in time is the measurement of the remote past. So, but this is to present the theoretical aspect of the eternal and immutable, not the actual aspect. It speaks of the characteristics of the theoretical and the theoretical eternal and immutable. In other words, a concept of the construct. It's not the actual revelation of the reality of that. Okay? So then he goes, last paragraph, the word mu means ku, emptiness or non-substantiality. You know, I talk about ku. You go into ku when we pass on. Okay? That's re-entering the state of non-substantiality, which is ever present even in the phenomenal realm. We just can't perceive it. But this is not the mu of Damu. That means nothing. That means that nothing remains after death. So he says. So this is not the non-substantiality of the Theravada teachings and the mu of being of nirvana. Okay, being blown out, disappearing. You no longer exist. You don't have to suffer anymore because you just don't exist anymore. He says this is not that. The word mu means ku, emptiness or non-substantiality, but this is not the mu of Damu. That means that nothing remains after death. It is the mu that corresponds to the ku that is not separate from temporary existence and the middle way, right? Because it's the truth of the three truths are non-substantiality, temporary existence, and the truth of the middle way, right? So this is not separate. This is the ku of the middle way. This is the ku that, continuing on page 200, is spoken of in terms of the perfect teaching, or the unification of the three truths, which was part of, again, Tentai's enlightenment and what he broke the Lotus Sutra down into in terms of a teaching that could accomplish one's gaining the true aspect of all phenomena. You know, so this is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo before the fifth 500-year period. That's exactly what the truth of the middle way is. They're the same. He just said in a previous chapter, there are two different expressions of the same thing. All right. Now he continues in the last first full paragraph on page 200. While the essential teaching, last 14 chapter, deals with the actual aspect of the eternal and immutable, okay, because the lifespan in the chapter is involved, but it's numberless major world system dust particle kalpas is the remote past in that understanding. The Buddha eternally endowed with the three bodies. I'll read it again. While the essential teaching deals with the actual aspect of the eternal and immutable, the Buddha eternally endowed with the three bodies. It's Shakyamuni. It's not anybody else. Okay? The theoretical teaching deals with impermanence. On the protection of the nation, Dingyo says, the Buddha of the reward body, which exists dependent upon causes and conditions. And why is the reward body dependent on causes and conditions? Because we're eternally endowed with the three bodies. The reward body is one of them. But we activate the reward body in the process of hearing the name and the words of the truth, and then going along until we discover and realize and ascertain the truth of our eternal body, the Dharma body, right? So this is a process of depends on causes and conditions. You're the one that makes the causes and creates the conditions for your reward body to manifest. Okay? Everything is there inherently. You're eternally endowed with 3 bodies. But the manifest body you can understand because that's the physical body you have even in an unenlightened state. But as you go forward, that manifest body serves the purpose of allowing you to read, allowing you to perceive the reward, the process of trying to get to the truth of the middle way. That's what it was really, the function of it was originally, right? Because we didn't have Nam-myoho Renge-kyo yet. So he says, the Buddha of the reward body, which exists depending on the causes and conditions, and the Buddha of that reward body is you. You're the Buddha he's talking about. But it's based on the causes and conditions that you make that manifests that body, represents a provisional result obtained in a dream. It's you don't know the Dharma body yet. You haven't brought forth the 6th stage of practice, so it's still just a dream. It's, what is Buddhahood? When could I ever attain Buddhahood? In what lifetime can I attain Buddhahood? While the Buddha, eternally endowed with the 3 bodies, continues, represents the true Buddha from the time before enlightenment. Now, what is the time before enlightenment? It's Kuan. Okay, it's beginningless time. All right, so what that really said, while the Buddha eternally endowed with the 3 bodies represents the true Buddha from the time before enlightenment, from Kuan. Now Nichiren and his followers who chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo are this true Buddha from the time before enlightenment, who is eternally endowed with the 3 bodies. You understand that point clearly, I hope. All right, going on to point 2. Concerning the character of Yo. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says the character of Yo, to measure or to estimate, pertains to the essential teaching, because Ryo has the meaning of to weigh and to include. The heart of the essential teaching is the exposition of the eternally endowed 3 bodies of the Buddha. But it's, again, you can't bring them forth. It's a theoretical construct in the essential teaching, the last 14 chapters of the Lotus Sutra, done by Tentai, under Tentai's perception, understanding, and teaching. And Tentai is considered the Buddha of the middle day of the law. Shakyamuni is considered the Buddha of the former day of the law. Tentai is the Buddha of the middle day of the law. And as he said earlier, I forget who he said Tentai was a reincarnation of. I think it was not universal worthy, but maybe it is universal worthy. It's either universal, it's got to be universal worthy. So he's now saying the record of the orally transmitted teaching says, he's going right into this. The character of Ryo, to measure or estimate, pertains to the essential teaching, because Ryo, Muryo-gi, right? There's 3 components to that title. Because Ryo has the meaning of to weigh and to include. The heart of the essential teaching is the exposition of the eternally endowed 3 bodies of the Buddha, which is what Tentai had come up with. This concept of the eternally endowed 3 bodies does not refer to the Buddha alone. It refers to all living beings. It explains that all the 10,000 things in the universe are themselves revealed to have Buddha bodies of limitless joy. They're all they're all subject to the reality that when there is a Buddha in their presence, even the environment becomes the Buddha land. This is all discovering the original state of life, Kuan, and understanding that that is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. When you chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the Gohonzon, you're embracing the process of coming to the clear understanding and not just theoretical understanding, the clear understanding of the truth that you are eternally endowed with the 3 bodies and that you're already a Buddha exactly as you are. That's the thing that escaped everybody until Nichiren came up with Nam-myoho Renge-kyo as the solution to this aspect that had been missing all along. Therefore, while the theoretical teaching while the theoretical teaching makes clear the theoretical perfection of the unchanging truth of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, the essential teaching takes over this explanation without change and deals with the eternally endowed three bodies present in each individual thing itself by qualifying that they exist, setting forth the actual perfection of the 3,000 realms in a single moment of life as it is revealed in the essential teaching. When one comes, because Shakyamuni talks about, I didn't just attain Buddhahood in this lifetime under the Bodhi tree, it's been numberless major world system dust particle kalpas, but he doesn't ever clarify what was the Bodhisattva practice that led him to that. Okay, so Tentai has tried to figure out what that Bodhisattva practice is, and in the middle day he went from words and phrases and profound meanings, and then culminating in the great perfection and insight, Makashikan. Those were the three things that were supposed to get you as close to this enlightenment as you could in your present lifetime. When one comes to realize, he continues, the Daishonin continues, when one comes to realize and see that each thing, the cherry, the plum, the peach, the damson, 4 different kinds of fruit, 4 completely unique differentiations of the same thing, in its own entity without undergoing any change, possesses the eternally endowed 3 bodies, then this is what is meant by the word Ryo, to include or all-inclusive, which is Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. All right, and this is again pertaining to us in the phenomenal realm. We're all different entities, but we're all exactly the same entity as it relates to the eternally endowed 3 bodies that we all possess. Our karma has flavored or colored those aspects, and why we see what we think we see as differences. And this is the enlightened wisdom to ignore those differentiations and perceive the truth of the fact that the truth of the middle way. It's all included. Okay. This is what is meant by the word Ryo, to include or all inclusive. Now, at the bottom of page 200, now Nichiren and his followers who chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo are the original possessors of these eternally endowed 3 bodies. Is why we were considered in the at point number 2 of the 16th chapter of 27 important points. Point 2 is of the lifespan chapter is that we're the original lords of teaching. By virtue of the perception and understanding from chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, we bring forth, uncover, and reveal the 3 bodies of which we have been eternally endowed, and express the truth that we can all attain Buddhahood. Anyone can attain Buddhahood in their present form, because all the 10,000 things in the entire universe possess these 3 bodies. That's what was just explained in point 2 here on the character Ryo. Okay, we go on page 201. Point 3, concerning the character Gi, Muryo Gi. Now we're on Gi. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says, Nichiren says, the character Gi, or meanings, pertains to the observation of the mind, the process of performing the seated meditation of contemplation that is involved in the Makashikan, Tentai's theoretical construct of Ichinen Sanzen. Okay, the record of the orally transmitted teaching says the character Gi, or meanings, pertains to the observation of the mind. The reason is that while words deal with the surface aspects of the text of the teachings, meanings must be derived through observation of the mind, through this contemplative samadhi thing that you would go into. It's seated meditation where you're trying to combine this threefold contemplation in a single mind. You're trying to understand how non-substantiality and temporary existence actually are the middle way. It's no different than us trying to achieve Buddhahood by understanding the 3 bodies that we're eternally endowed with. We get there just by having faith in the Gohonzon and chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. That's what naturally progresses, and that's what I was talking about. The reward body is the mind that allows you to ultimately perceive the Dharma body, and your manifested body is the body that performs the functions of those endeavors that allow you to ultimately, through the reward body, perceive the Dharma body. That's why we have all three, and they're already all there. You got to go through a process of effort in order to uncover them. They're not just sitting shallowly on the very surface, like the Daimoku. They're hidden in the depths. That's why you had to do this great seated, this very complicated seated meditation in Tentai's construct. So, he says, again, the record of the orally transmitted teaching says the character gi or meanings pertains to the observation of the mind. Because that's what we do when we chant Daimoku to the Gohonzon. Those thoughts that come into your head, you're observing your own mind. Your reward body is allowing you to progress in understanding. You are observing your mind until you get to the stage 6 and go, oh, I get it now. I am a Buddha right now, exactly as I've always been. That's something that just happens in a single moment of life. For you to go from, how could that be, to, why couldn't I see this all along? And the amount of time that it takes for you to get there is completely up to you. But the teaching is right there for you to understand what the process is going to be and what your goal should be and how to get there. Okay? So, the reason is that while the words deal with the surface aspects of the text of the teaching, meaning must be derived through observation of the mind. That is, the words that are preached in the sutras are referred to that are referred to the realm of the mind in order to arrive at the meaning. Okay, because it's not something about it's not about something that you do externally. It's something that you do within your own mind, within your own body. Without your mind and body, there is no Buddha. What we're doing is we're using the mind and body to discover that Buddha. All right? Within ourselves. This is particularly true of the immeasurable meanings of the sutra, since the sutra discusses the immeasurable meanings that are born from a single law, that with all the differentiation in the phenomenal realm, it all is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's what he's talking about. That which gives birth is gi, or meaning. That is the single law. And that which is given birth is muryo, that which is immeasurable. Hence, this immeasurable meaning sutra concerns both that which gives birth and that which is given birth. This, however, should not be taken as a statement of how these qualities of giving birth and being given birth apply to the relationship between the Lotus Sutra and the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra. He's qualifying, okay, the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra states that that which is without marks is devoid of marks and does not take on marks. Not taking marks, being without marks, is called the true mark or the true aspect. So he's talking about the original state, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. It's not changing. It's immutable. It's not something that was earned. It's not something that was created. It's the original state exactly as it exists. All right? From this principle, the true aspect, he's talking about Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the 10,000 things are derived. All the 10,000 things throughout the universe are all derived from Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Their source is the true aspect, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And hence, this is a matter pertaining to the observation of the mind. You can't perceive that unless you've already brought forth your Dharma body, because you're going to see distinctions until you actually bring forth the Dharma body. The Dharma body is the mind that sees no distinctions. Finally sees the fact that everything is without marks. It was never created. It's in it just as it's always been. It's always been Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Everything is a manifestation of that same single reality, that same single truth, the simultaneity of cause and effect. All right? Continuing at the bottom of page 201. In this way, the three characters of the title Mu-ryo-gi pertain to the theoretical teaching, the essential teaching, and the observation of the mind, respectively. And this expresses the transferred idea that this title of the sutra has, and this expresses the transferred idea that this title of the sutra, as it has been explained, and the title of the Lotus Sutra, Myoho Renge-kyo, form a single entity. that is not dual in nature. And of the three divisions of the sutra, the former serves as preparation and the latter as revelation. All right? And then transmission is up to us, right? Those are the three stages of the three divisions of a sutra. So let me say that again. And this expresses the transferred idea that this title of the sutra, as it has just been explained, because again, the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra existed before Tentai ever did the Makashikan. Okay, so what he's qualifying now is that the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra and the Lotus Sutra were all part of the same teaching and always were, but they were not able to be discerned as such until the truth of the middle way and the Makashikan revealed the three truths. Okay, form a single entity, and that is not dual in nature. And of the three divisions of a sutra, the former serves as preparation and the latter as revelation. And do notice that he's saying that these sutras perform a single entity. Okay, they're living teachings. They are the entity of the law exists within the Lotus Sutra. All right, the entity of the law exists within the Gohonzon in the latter day. Okay, we don't go to the 16th chapter to try and derive the truth. We go to the Gohonzon and endeavor to perceive our eternally endowed three bodies. Point 4 on page 202, concerning the character sho in the phrase Murogi sho, the origin of the immeasurable meanings, from the Lotus Sutra chapter 1 introduction. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says this one character sho, origin, stands for the Lotus Sutra. The Tripitaka teaching and the connecting teachings are subsumed under the character mu of Murogi. Okay, and these are the four categories of teachings, right? The Tripitaka teaching is like the agamas, and then the connecting is the correct and equal, and the specific is the specific teaching. The Tripitaka teaching and the connecting teaching are subsumed. These are all the first one is Hinayana Buddhism, Tripitaka. The second two are provisional Mahayana, and the last is true Mahayana. Okay, so I'll go through this. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says this one character sho, origin, stands for the Lotus Sutra. The Tripitaka teachings and the connecting teachings are subsumed. In other words, they're separate sutras, but they all fall under the theoretical teaching of the Lotus Sutra, the first 14 chapters, with the exception of the immeasurable meanings, which he says is combined with the Lotus Sutra. All right, they're subsumed under the character mu of Murogi. The specific teaching is subsumed under the character ryo, and the perfect teaching is subsumed under the character gi. Thus, the four teachings of the sutra that preceded the Lotus Sutra are designated as that which was given birth, while the sutra, the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra, which acts as a preparation for the Lotus Sutra, is designated as that which gives birth. It gave birth to the Lotus Sutra itself. It's the introduction, it's the gateway into the Lotus Sutra, which is the perfect teaching. But now, for the moment, we use the character sho to indicate that which gives birth, and then the immeasurable meanings will be designated as that which was given birth. In this way, we designate the sho, the origin of the immeasurable meanings, as it relates to the distinction between the true and the provisional teachings, which I just went through. Did you? If you didn't understand that, re-listen to what I just had qualified about being subsumed. The connecting teaching, the Tripitaka and connecting teachings are subsumed under mu of Murogi. The specific teaching is subsumed under the character ryo, and the perfect teaching is subsumed under the character gi. These four teachings of the sutras that preceded the Lotus Sutra are designated as that which was given birth, while the sutra, the Immeasurable Meanings, which acts as a preparation of the Lotus Sutra, which reveals the truth, is designated as that which gives birth. But now for the moment we use the character show to indicate that which gives birth, and then the immeasurable meanings will be designated as that which was given birth. All right? Originally it was what gave birth, but in retrospect, once Nam-myoho Renge-kyo comes out, it was given birth by the Lotus Sutra. In this way, we designate the show the origin, okay, the original state of immeasurable meanings as it relates to the distinction between true and provisional teachings. And with that, I'll stop. I got to do point 5 and point 6, and we'll continue on with the Universal Weather Sutra next time we get together. Thank you.